market this year, you've probably heard the national headline: sales are down. Mortgage rates are higher than pandemic lows. Whereas 3%? Affordability is tighter. Appreciation has slowed. And the question that you and most homeowners are asking quietly is this: what does all this noise mean for me and what I want to accomplish? Well, today I want to simplify that for you without hype, without headlines. Fair enough? Great. We're going to look at the data and I'm going to help you interpret it, because data without interpretation creates confusion, and confusion creates hesitation. Now, I don't know about you, but have you ever had a time when you made an important decision only to find out later you wish you could do it again? You'd make a different decision based on new information. Well, another way to say that is when you know better, you do better. Most people can't raise their hand and say they've been there, done that. I know I have. So let's share that data and I'll help you interpret it, and then you can make the best decision for you. Fair enough? Terrific. Now, before we go any further, if we haven't already met, my name is Crystal Johnson. I'm a local realtor right here in the Metro Atlanta area. I've worked through up markets, shifting markets, every market in between for nearly 4 decades. On this channel, my goal is to educate you, whether you're a home buyer or a homeowner, so that you can move strategically in this market and every market for that matter. And I'll also share with you why living in Georgia is so special, not just to me, but for many that call this place home. We'll show you some of the local amenities as well as the natural beauties of Georgia and the lifestyle that comes with calling this state home. So if that's helpful to you, go ahead, like or subscribe so you don't miss any future insights. Now let's break it down into 3 realities and what this data actually means. The first reality is sales volumes are lower than peak years. The peak years that most people are still talking about is 2020 through 2022. Now, come on, guys, that was an abnormal time. Wouldn't you agree? And to put this into a perfect frame of reference, my own mother looked at me and told me the interest rates are too high. And I'm thinking, oy vey, what? Come on now. Give you some perspective because that will actually help. Mortgage rates over the last 30 years have averaged just a little over 7%. So when my mother says what I hear the public saying, I'm just flabbergasted because I'm like, you're the mother. What do you mean the interest rates are high? Okay, so now we're going to get off that soapbox for just a moment. That was not a normal housing environment. So how does that all reference to where we are today? That's all we are interested in. Gone are the days of we wish we would have got what our neighbors got, because that time is not this time. Wouldn't you agree? Locally here in the metro market, looking at January's data, 2025 versus January's data for 2026, sales have decreased less than 10% year over year. Now, that's only 1 month of data. We really need to have at least 2 additional months to be able to call that a trend. But at this very moment, yes, the national sales are down. The local sales are down. But come on, how many houses do you actually want to sell? The good news is, and let's give you the good news, homes are still selling. What's changed is we've got about 5 months supply of inventory. What does that mean? Well, if no other homes come on the market today, it would take 5 months to consume the existing inventory. Does that make sense? In addition to that, we have homes on average are taking about 70 days. So when you hear the term DOM, that means days on market. Now, again, I've thrown a lot of information at you. I would love it for you to challenge me on that and say, what does this mean? And why should I care? I want it to be so ingrained in your mind that when you see me in public, you say, hey, Crystal, what does it mean? And why should I care? Anyone who does that, I'll give you $50 on the spot. Because the reason why I'm sharing with you, it does matter. If you're looking to make a real estate move, it does matter. Okay? So if you're a seller if you're a homeowner thinking about selling in today's market, it's more important than ever that you're strategic about the moves that you make. Why? Because once you decide to put your home on the market in this market, you've got a 50% chance of getting a divorce from your agent. That's right. It's sad, but true. A 50% chance of divorce. And what that means is you have a 50% chance of failure. That is not my number. That is the data at this time. 50% of homeowners that are going on the market are coming off the market unsuccessful and not getting their property sold. So the information I'm sharing with you, I would think would be relative because no one goes through all that trouble for a dress rehearsal. Wouldn't you agree? All right. So let's talk about the extraordinary market that we were in. It created a lot of unrealistic expectations. What we're seeing right now in today's market is a normalization. What do I mean? Our interest rates are starting to normalize. People are starting to realize that if we continue to sit on the fence and wait for 2% or 3% to come back, the fence is going to fall down. Let me give you let me let me give you let me share a story with you. When we look at inflation and we consider that if we sit on the sidelines, like some of the headlines suggesting because they're anticipating real estate prices are going to collapse, don't get it twisted. There are so many reasons why that is not going to happen unless something significant happens in the world. The first is this: anytime inflation rises, most people bet. It's called about hedging your bet. And they put their investments in what? Anyone who can tell me, please put it in the comments below what you believe that is. There are two things that savvy individuals do when inflation starts to rise. Anybody? Number one is gold. Number two is real estate. Real estate is a hedge against inflation. If you don't believe me, take a look at the data that I'm showing you here. Look at what happened in 1975. Inflation went up, and so did home prices. Look at what happened in 1979. Inflation went up to an all-time high, and so did real estate appreciation. We also take a look at September 2005, and then most recently, March 2022. We had appreciation exceeding 20% appreciation, which is unheard of. That's the highest it's been for many, 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 many decades. As long as that number has been recorded, there's never been another time where appreciation has exceeded what we saw in March 2022. Okay, so I share this data with you because if you believe the headlines and if you believe social media that's saying don't buy now because the real estate market is going to crash, if you believe that, you also believe that prices for gold is going to crash. And that's not going to happen now, is it? All right, so I'm going to get off that soapbox. You have the data, do your due diligence, and take a look. One of the other things I want to share with you, I said I was going to share three realities. One, sales volumes are decreasing. I don't see that as a big deal because unless you have more than 3 million homes to sell, it's not your problem. The only reason that number is significant is because buyers now have more choices. That's all. Buyers have more choices. They're more selective. Let's talk about the second factor, appreciation. Appreciation is normalizing. 4% is the historical norm over time that you can expect. I was just on the phone today with my insurance person, whose name I'm not going to mention, even though it's on the tip of my tongue. He purchased his home in 2020. He just sold his home and closed on his new home in January. Now, the new home is 4,000 square feet on a basement on 5 acres. How was he able to afford such a massive home? The reason he was able to do that is because the home that he bought 5 years ago, he was able to sell that and cleared 6 figures just in 5 years' time. That is because of the appreciation that I mentioned to you. And taking a look at the graph that I'm sharing with you, this also helps to corroborate my stance. Home prices are not going to crash. If you sit by, you're going to miss the boat, you're going to miss the parade, you're going to miss everything, because I've seen it over and over again. Remember, I have nearly 4 decades of experience in this business. I've been in up markets, down markets, recessions, great, great recessions. And the bottom line is this: it's always a good time to buy real estate, always, because there's always going to be good deals out there. So let's talk about the third reality. The third reality is affordability. Yes, that is a huge topic. And the reality is, right now, if you are a buyer, in order to qualify for today's home prices, it's going to take 32% of your income in order to qualify. So that is significant, significant. And it's just happened in the last 5 to 6 years that this has become such a large problem. Why does that matter? What's important about it, and why should I care? Well, if you're a seller considering putting your home on the market and buyers are faced with this affordability issue, it's very important that you price your home not based on what you want. We're not in the market that my insurance adjuster just sold his home in. We're not in that market. We're in a market where if you're a seller, you have to price strategically. So how do you price strategically? How do you do that? Well, there's 3 things you want to look at. You want to look at what your competition is. What are homes selling for that you're going to be competing against? Why? There's 5 months supply of inventory, and that number is continuing to rise. We will shortly be inside of what's considered a balanced market. There's the seller's market, the balanced market, then the buyer's market. Right now, we are right at the tip and climbing of the end of a seller's market. So real estate is cyclical. So how do you win? Based on the data I've presented to you here, you price your home strategically. Take into consideration who you're competing with. There's 5 months supply of inventory. Buyers have choices. The second thing you want to consider is, what is the current buyer behavior? Well, I know that sounds impossible, right? Well, it's easy to deduce. All you have to do is look at the pending transaction, the pending sales. How long are these homes on the market? How long did they take before they went under contract? This will give you an idea of the buyer behavior at this time. Also, take a look at closed transactions. How long were the homes on the market? But not just how long they were on the market. What was the concession? What was the average concession? Right now, 67% of all sellers are paying concessions. What are concessions? If you don't know, you're going to know. I'm going to share that with you. Concessions are what sellers are contributing towards the buyer in order to help the buyer make their purchase. That could be closing costs. That could be anywhere from 3 to 8% is what I'm seeing, which is crazy. I want to let you know, you can look at all my past sales. I don't pay closing costs. I don't care what the market is doing. There's so many other things that you can leverage versus giving away your equity. This comes working with a seasoned realtor like myself. I do not give concessions. I think it's ridiculous. If you price your property strategically, if it looks good, there are so many other things that we can leverage without giving away your equity. So the market as a whole is giving away anywhere from 3 to 8% of the sales price in concessions right now. 67% of sellers are doing that in order to get their homes under contract. Now, there are extenuating circumstances, and I will be completely transparent. If we get down to our inspection and there are mechanical issues like an air conditioning, which is very costly, versus my seller taking the time and losing time, getting waiting for vendors to show up, waiting for the installation, we will do a price adjustment to allow the buyer to buy their own. That isn't a concession, that is an inspection, because there is a huge difference if it's a mechanical item. No one's going to buy a car without tires. No one's going to buy a house if the heating and the cooling elements are not working. So I do make exceptions based on mechanical. So I want to share with you, if you're a seller that's looking to work with me in the future, if it's mechanically related, yes, we will address that versus, shall we say, fixing it. It's better just price it out and let the buyer wait for the vendor to show up to put it in. Fair enough? Okay, great. So 3 things that are happening right now. Our sales volumes are down. Don't let that scare you unless you have more than 3 million homes to sell. If you have just 1 home or 10 homes, you're going to be just fine. The appreciation is normalizing. 4% on average is what we expect. So if you've forgotten because we had that temporary moment of insanity during 2020 through 2022, then let me help you remember. We are just fine. My name is Crystal Johnson. If there's anything in the world that I can do for you, or if you want to book a one-on-one with me, that information is below. Make it a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye now.